in this section. Hello and welcome. We are on day 3 of English 1010. This is a freshman writing class here at Tennessee Tech University for the fall 2021 semester with Mr. Smith. And our first big assignment that we're going to do is actually a small assignment because Anne Lamott, the great writing teacher, said we should do small assignments. She said we have to take everything one step at a time. She talked about her procrastinating younger brother was doing a science project where they were cataloging North American birds, and they were going to do like hundreds of pages where they were going to have a picture of the bird and the description of the bird, and they procrastinated to the last minute, and they had to do all of this like the day before, and they were having a panic attack, a total anxiety-ridden meltdown. Have you ever had one of those when you were late on a project where you just had a complete and total meltdown? And so this young person was begging for help, I guess, to their parent, and said, well, how am I ever going to handle this project? And the parent said, bird by bird, meaning one small chunk at a time. And so we break up this larger semester of writing into smaller tasks. And so this is an incredibly easy and incredibly short assignment, but it does have a lot of movable parts. But the genesis of this assignment, the reason behind, the motive behind, was to give all of us a refresher in how to do professional emailing. You're going to encounter professionals here at the university, whether they would be in administration, staff, or faculty, who do very polished professional email. You are also going to encounter people who don't do professional email. We are not here to judge other people's lack of email etiquette. We're here this morning so you guys can learn how to write a really strong professional email to a professor. And I'm going to encourage you all to do that. And the reason why is that occasionally we receive an email from a student that is so unprofessional that we can't even understand what the student is saying. And then we can't write back. We can't help you because you haven't communicated to your needs clearly and professionally. And your faculty, we're all different. Some of them are going to care deeply about receiving this very professional email that you're going to have to write at least one this week to a professor or between now and next Monday. And some of them, they don't care that much. They don't need to get emails from you all. Some of them are going to be quite flattered and quite appreciative of this. And hopefully you'll pick the right one. This is a rhetorical situation. Remember, I said on Monday, in our lecture on Monday, that the rhetorical situation depends on the relationship between the writer and their audience. If you're writing for an email or a letter, this rhetorical situation is very real because you have a clearly defined sense of purpose and of audience. And that's what makes up the so-called rhetorical situation. So these are just some handy tips about how to write a really professional email, especially to a professor. And like I said, some of your professors don't require this. Some of your professors, this will mean the world of difference to them. And if you can just remember these handy tips, you won't have that embarrassing email that professors will complain about on their Facebook or to their spouse or to their other teaching colleagues here at the university. So always use a subject line in an email. This is the first and foremost tip in professional email correspondence. And make the subject line very clear and very simple. Question about the homework. The more precise you can be, the easier it's going to be for that professor to prioritize opening that email and answering that email. We don't have a subject line, we might not even open it. Also, if we open the email but we don't have time to respond, it will help us find that email easier later. So use a subject line in an email. We get a lot of emails from our colleagues and from the students in this and my other classes, but also we get a lot of emails from other organizations, professional organizations. Some of us get a good amount of what is called spam or unsolicited, just kind of informational email, or maybe you subscribe. I subscribe to a lot of things. I buy a lot of stuff. I attend a lot of stuff. I get emails in my inbox that are related to my hobbies and my other things that I do of the week. So a good subject line makes the email easier to find. It's much more likely to be opened and responded to with a clear subject line. It's always good to begin with an appropriate salutation. This is an example, dear Professor Smith, comma. If you will never go wrong addressing your instructor by the term professor. You may wish to include a Ms. or a Mr. or a doctor, but you have to know for sure what credential that professor has. If the professor has a doctorate, you are allowed to refer to them as Dr. Smith. That would be my colleague, Miss Troy Smith in history. He's Dr. Troy Smith. I'm Mr. Smith. I have 2 master degrees and not any doctorate degree. So these are advanced degrees. I'm perfectly qualified for this job, but my advanced degree is at the master level as opposed to the doctor level. Don't call me, don't write an email, dear master. That would just be creepy, right? So you don't do that. You don't want to say that. So you say, dear professor is a safe catch-all way, but always greet your email recipient with an appropriate salutation. If they've given you specific instructions about how to address them, it is important. Keeping in mind, though, if you have a female instructor and she has a doctorate, she is a bold, a glass ceiling breaker herself. She does not want to be referred to as Ms. or Mrs. in an email. If she is a professional with a doctorate, you refer to them as a doctor, because that is putting them at equal level with their male colleagues who also have the doctorate. But don't say doctorate if you know for a fact that they don't. It's very easy to look this up on their emails that they send to you. They probably have a signature line at the end of the email, or also on their teaching website or on their Tennessee Tech official listing. It usually will have the correct credential. But if you don't know their credential, professor is always a safe way to end. To begin, I'm sorry. To end the email, you want to end with an appropriate closing, such as sincerely, comma, or best regards, comma. You don't want to use too informal of a, of a closing. No X's and O's. No colloquial saying that you would use with your more intimate friends that you're closer to, that you have a more camaraderie relationship with. You have the opportunity to have a friendly relationship with your professors, but this is a professional relationship for which there are appropriate boundaries. And so we don't use, and it would be inappropriate for your teacher to use too informal or intimate of language with you in an email correspondence. That would be wrong. You could even report them for that if you wanted to, because you want this boundary to be clear. So it's very important that you refrain from using inappropriate language in an email with a teacher. We want to do that with you as well, but sincerely, best regards, have a good day. You can be friendly without crossing any boundaries, right? We don't want to be intimidated by our teachers, and we don't want to be intimidating to them, but we want to dance that line of professional but not too formal. But there's a certain level of formality that goes along with email correspondence, especially when you're a new student. These are great skills to learn. That's why I'm requiring you all to practice this with at least one professor this week as a part of this assignment. Keeping in mind, you do not tell the teacher, I did this for an assignment. That will ruin the social capital that you will gain from that, the social credit that you'll gain from that. Always provide some context, background, or introduction. Depending on who your teacher is, they might have a massive, massive teaching load. One would be that they teach only large sections because of the nature of their discipline. They've got 100 people in their section. Also, they might be one of our part-time faculty, and they might be teaching at multiple institutions. They just have an overwhelming number of student responsibilities this semester. It might be very difficult and challenging for them to keep up with all the correspondence. So it's always good to give the basic context right at the beginning of the email. My name is, and I'm a student in your English 1010 section 502, or section, whatever section it is, class at 10:10 on Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning. So I should have updated this. I should update this for you all. It should say I'm a section of English 1010 502 at 10 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings. Make it easier for them to immediately figure out who the person behind the message is by giving a full introduction of who you are and the context of the email. Later in the semester, you might have other context that you want to add, such as I'm writing in regards to the assignment that is due on Friday. I'm writing in regards to your lecture on last Wednesday. Give them some context for understanding. Always have a main point to an email and establish it. If you're doing this introduction email later, if you're doing this assignment and you don't have a question, if you have a question that you're dying to ask your teachers, use this email as an assignment as an opportunity to ask that question. However, if you don't have a question, an introduction email would be very clear. The purpose of this email is to introduce myself to you. You can go above and beyond, and you could send an introduction email to all of your teachers using this assignment as a launch pad for, or as a, as a inspiration for you to do that. But you need to tell them why I'm writing. I'm writing to tell you that I'll be absent from class because of a trip that I've planned that was planned before I got my schedule, or that is unavoidable. The conflict's unavoidable, or I'm a member of the Golden Eagle, football team or something like that. You can ask for a clarification to something that was discussed in class. You can just write an email of appreciation. You're going to be deciding what the main point and what the main context to your email that you're going to write for this class is that's required. So you can write a thank you email. You can write a question email. You can write an introduction email. You can write a clarification email. Notice it says here, plan the email in advance. I mean, it'd be one thing. It might be very hard and very intimidating for some of you to write these emails the first time. You might be a little bit nervous, a little bit scared. Don't just fire it off, kind of just, thumb typing with no punctuation, while you're walking to class and the sun is blinding you and you can barely see your phone screen and you're squinting. Sit down at your computer to write this email. Plan it in advance. Now that I've launched and dropped this assignment on you, you have a day or so to decide who your recipient or recipients are going to be for these emails. If there is a request, make sure that you ask. Do not frame what should be a question as a demand. Sometimes students assume that we have nothing else to do, that we have no other responsibilities, that you are the only thing in our life. I'm sure that none of you all would ever do this, but occasionally, and I'm sure it's unintentionally and accidentally, but occasionally a student will make it sound like the request, the thing that we need help with, is presented as a demand, as I need this and I need it now. Come on, teach. Give me what I got to have right. I want that information right now, quickly. Be polite. Use a little bit of your rhetorical skills that we're learning in this class to make the instructor feel comfortable, and that this is mutually advantageous for all parties involved. Don't make a question out into an order. Would you be willing to provide the link? I cannot seem to find the original email you sent at the beginning of the term. Would you be able to find the iLearn, provide the iLearn link for me today, please? It is absolutely important, especially when you're struggling with something or you've fallen behind, and the purpose of the email is to ask for some leeway or some leniency. And maybe you think if you tell us your entire life story, and we've had ice storms last year that shut down everything. We had some people were victims of tragic and horrible floods here just recently. There was an awful tornado that happened in recent history in the time that I was here teaching at Tennessee Tech. So clearly, if there's some natural disaster, that you can talk about this. If clearly, if there's an illness or a death in the family, you're allowed to talk about in your email. It helps us to understand, get to know you better. It builds credibility and trust. but you don't want to go overboard. Occasionally, a student will go a little bit too personal, which is why we say don't use TMI. Too much information cannot be helpful at a certain point. You maybe don't want to say, I have court for my DWI. You know, I mean, of course, that would never happen to anybody. None of you all would this happen to, right? But maybe you don't want to say, I've got to go to court for the DWI. There are things about your personal business that it's okay if they stay your personal business. Your teacher doesn't need to know everything. Not everybody needs to know everything, so you can be discreet and diplomatic. What we need the teacher to know is that I have a personal issue that has come up which is interfering with my ability to succeed in your class, and I need this accommodation, this understanding, this grace period, and I'm writing to you to request this grace period. If you feel that the full tragic drama would be helpful because it would elicit compassion, if it's the death of a loved one, that's okay to tell your teacher that that a family member has passed away. But sometimes you can get it a little bit too personal, and the teacher really doesn't want to know all of that. Try to wait at least 48 hours before sending a follow-up email. As a matter of fact, just be patient in the response. Many teachers have a rule that they will respond within 24 hours. But sometimes we need what I like to call nice nagging. We need a prompt. We need to be reminded that this is happening in our lives, that this is a priority for you. It may not be a priority for the teacher, but it's a priority for you that you get this information. So it's not wrong to send a follow-up email if you have not received a response and there is critical information that you're needing. I mean, this is the where you might be needing something. You really want something. You're seeking a particular outcome. You want the teacher to respond. Is your question already addressed in the syllabus? Have you read that syllabus that teacher gave you on the first day of class? Is the question already addressed on the written assignment sheet? Did you receive a written assignment sheet like I gave you the other day? Have you already tried to solve the problem on your own? Most times teachers like it when students engage over email. Some teachers, because their own personal professional life is very stressful or very busy at a given time, they might see student emails as a somewhat of an inconvenience. And so you don't want to overburden your faculty members. If the thing that you're seeking, if the information that you want to know is already there, it's obviously in the syllabus, you want to ask the question that's going to be that you really need their attention and their help with. Some professors may not practice good email etiquette. You should still practice good email etiquette. Some professors may not reply to your message. You should not take that personally. That does not mean that they are a bad teacher or that they do not care about your success in the class. Maybe there is a better way to reach out to them. Sometimes it's better to ask your classmates for help. Sometimes it's bad to ask your classmates for help because your classmates are as confused as you are, and they'll give an inappropriate or incorrect answer. If you're ever on the classmate side of receiving a question about help with a class and you don't know the answer, tell your peer, I don't have a clue what he's talking about either. And let's go to the source and get the correct answer from the professor. This is our job. We're here to serve you. I try to make my students my first priority during the academic season, and I hope that most of your other teachers are feeling the same way about putting your needs first. But you want to be courteous, and you also want to be understanding and flexible, just as we are going to try to be. So this leads us to what is called the correspondence collage assignment. The correspondence collage assignment is going to be due this Monday over email to me. And it is going to require a minimum of 3 samples of correspondence. And can't stress this enough. These are real correspondences that you actually do, that you actually give to actual recipients, to actual people. If you want to pad your correspondence collage with extra examples of this, this would be absolutely fine to do that. You should send at least 2 professional emails. At least one of these should be to a faculty member that is not me. You should send one of those professional emails, if you want, to a classmate in a class where you know that you need help, or that you want to create kind of a buddy system where you have somebody that is your study buddy and you guys can help each other throughout the semester be successful. Collaboration is very much helpful to your success here at the university. And then we're going to do a really fun thing, and everyone's going to write at least 1 letter. This is fashioned as a letter home. It can be to a parent, to a grandparent, to an aunt and uncle, a sibling. It can be to a high school teacher, a high school coach, your former youth pastor. You're no longer in youth group back home because you're over here at college. Maybe you're attending a college ministry. You want to write your youth pastor a thank you letter. It can be to a friend who's overseas, a friend who's traveling, a friend who went away to college. Maybe they need to get paper mail over there in Memphis or Knoxville, or maybe they've gone further away to Michigan or Florida or California. It can be, it should be typed for the sake of ease of showing it to me, but you can write it out by hand also if you want. It should be approximately 300 words long. That is the longest portion of this assignment. The other emails should be enough sentences to do all of the things that were done in the instructions, which is a greeting, dear so-and-so, a closing that's appropriate, at least a setting up of the context, a main point, and any kind of obligatory gratitude in there. This Friday, our class on August the 27th, that'll be our 4th day of class, will be a practice day. And then Monday is a due day. And on that due day, I'm going to be available as needed by request for individual check-ins if you want me to give you any help with that assignment. So that I'm going to stop presenting the formal portion of this right now. I encourage you all, though, to go ahead and pull up the assignment sheet right now.